Make AFW your home for the holidays. Snag gaming chairs starting at just $99. Cozy up to the softest faux fur chaise for $498 and unwind in a luxurious leather power recliner for $558. Looking for a sofa? High quality styles starting at only $298. Thousands of in-stock items ready to go home with you today. AFW has something for everyone. Visit any of the 3 Houston showrooms or shop online. AFW.com.
Feeling drained, foggy, or just not yourself? These may be the effects of low testosterone levels. Henry Meds has you covered. Our testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, is available in easy-to-take oral pills, injectable options, or daily creams. Many patients report improvements in energy, mood, and focus. Though individual results may vary, TRT may also support sexual function for some patients. Go to henrymeds.com to consult a healthcare provider to see if TRT is right for you. Take the first step to helping you feel your best again.
Back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankle.
Throws. It is caught. Touchdown.
Drops back to goal. It's picked up. Touchdown.
Second snap. Under pressure. Ball is through.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
From the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second hour. I am not Mean Gene, but we are running the Mean Gene Show. You are joined by the Mr. Bryce Shepherd, one of my slightly knowledgeable NFL fans. And this has been a cool show. And this is my favorite segment of the Mean Gene Show every week. This is the What Had Happened Was. And we are
what had happened was...
What had happened was is the 49ers absolutely beat the dog mess out of the Chicago Bears today. It was a terrible game for Chicago. At the end of the first half, San Francisco had 319 yards of offense. Chicago had 4. So this was a game where only one team ever showed up. The fact that Chicago scored points blows my mind because San Francisco dog-walked them. Did you watch that game, Bryce?
I did. This was not a nap game for me. I was awake, and I watched it. One, where has the San Francisco team been, for the last few weeks? I think this is...
They weren't playing Chicago.
That's true. They didn't play Chicago the last 4 weeks. I guess you're right. It's hard for me to talk about Chicago because there's not a lot of good things to say. I think we all watched the Thanksgiving Day game and what happened there, and then you fire the coach, and then it's tough to see really how good Caleb Williams is. I don't think he's bad. I think he's shown signs of
some promise.
Promise more than some number one picks have in the past in their first year. But the problem I think is for Chicago is they're just not a well coached team. I don't think they're just not really ever put in positions to win. And I think it's you always hear like good coaches and stuff talk about teams that look like they expect to lose. That's what the Bears look like to me in the second half of football games.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And I mean, as easy as it is to hate Caleb Williams, right? Like coming out of college, like he ran his mouth a lot. Nobody's ever tweeted their punter on the team that they're coming to like, hey, you're not going to need to do your job this
You got to
season.
like a little bit of that confidence.
You got to like confidence, but there's a level to it where you need.
I mean, maybe would you have been as bothered if he would have won a natty in college and been acting that way?
No,
so
not at
it's
all.
just because he really didn't win much in college. Either.
No, I mean he won in college. The only games that he didn't win
were the big ones.
But his defense didn't exist in college. Like he played great in college. Even the games that they lost, even the big games. Very few of them they actually lost because of Caleb Williams. I just think that you're going to the next level. There's a level of professionalism that you should carry with you because you have no idea what you're walking into. This is a young man that was given the greatest offense a rookie quarterback has ever had. And the level of confidence he had coming into the league, like albeit it could have been a good thing, it has slapped him in the face, and it's gotten to the point of the season where even Caleb Williams looks tired on the sideline at halftime because he is just getting punched into the ground by every team he plays, the 49ers being no exception.
Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to really talk about the Bears. And like you said, what had happened was they just really got beat today. What did they have, 4 yards of offense
in the first half?
It was bad. I mean, we're talking about an NFL football team.
It might have been Penn State, right?
Yeah.
It might as well have just been Penn State.
Yeah. And I think it's just tough. But he did throw for 2 touchdowns today. They did score in the second half, and he played okay. But I just don't. The defense is almost non-existent there. Every time they need a stop, they don't get a stop. That they had, a few weeks there where they almost beat the Packers. They almost beat the Lions.
Yeah.
And then you lose those games in the most heartbreaking ways possible. They haven't beat the Packers in however many tries. It's been like, the last
dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get the field goal blocked. And then the time management situation against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Those are back-to-back.
It was bad. Yeah.
Games. How do you kind of bounce back from that? You could almost kind of see a game like this coming today.
So there was a time in recent Bears history that this feels very reminiscent of, and that was when Mitchell Trubisky was reached for, and you had Maserati Mitch running this offense, and you had the defense that was led by Khalil Mack, right? So they had an all-world defense again. Chicago's defense was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, and then they missed some kicks.
Well, yeah, but you have Maserati Mitch throwing this ball wherever he wants to around the field, right? But just never to his own players. And you have a Khalil Mack-led defense that was really, really good that gave up on the team halfway through the season right before they got rid of Mitchell Trubisky because the offense couldn't sustain drives. And this is a Chicago Bears team that feels very similar to that to me because they have a decent defense. They really do. You can't tell. But they do. Like Jack Jones is a great corner. They have pieces on this defense that are very good at football. It's just one of those things where
they're not used to winning.
Yeah, they don't win, and you can only have hope for so long.
Like winning is contagious.
Yeah, and the coach gets fired, like you said, and it's just kind of like, okay, so this year's doomed, on to next year, and they're playing as if they're just waiting for the season to end.
Yeah, because I think we can all see a little bit of potential with the Bears, right?
Sure.
I think taking Caleb Williams was the right pick. I think, coming out of the draft, he probably was.
Probably. Maybe.
Besides Jaden Daniels. I think it's close when you talk about that. Drake May hasn't been playing bad.
Drake May's not bad either, yeah. But he has all the talent.
He has the most upside.
Caleb Williams showed in college he has all of the talent. He can make any throw from anywhere on the field. He can throw a dime across his body 30 yards downfield and hit his guy in stride. Like, it is something that he's capable of doing. The Bears have I really do think that this is just a team that is ready for the season to end because it's been nothing but tragedy.
Yeah. And I think games like this happen when you think the season's over.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were playing for much. The 49ers, on the other hand, are playing for a little bit. Right now, I think they've really underachieved from what everybody kind of thought. They've been battling some injuries and things. But still, even when people get hurt, good teams still win.
Exactly. And with that being said, the 49ers have not won much lately, which sucks because I like Kyle Shanahan. I like this 49ers team. How about Isaac Guerendo? Dude, they announced it during the game today. This is his second start since the beginning of college. He was not a starter in college. The game that he ended up starting in earlier this season, he played very well. He had a day today.
Yeah, 78 yards on the ground, 50 receiving, 2 touchdowns.
Good job, Kyle Shanahan.
So right now we're basically saying if you look at a 49ers running back, AJ, I want to get your opinion on this. And because, we talked a little bit about your team, the Cowboys, and needing a running back. Do you even look at someone for the 49ers and just say one of those guys is pretty good, or you just think it's the system in San Francisco? Because they plug in guys you haven't heard of ever, and they go run for 100 and something yards, catch it for 75, and just hang out in the end zone.
Right, yeah, the system definitely makes a difference because you saw Jordan Mason go off in the time without Christian McCaffrey for the most part, besides when he got injured some. But, with McCaffrey, I wouldn't say necessarily with him. I think the system helps him, but obviously he's a talented running back, and last year was the best running back in the league, so it varies. But Kyle Shanahan, he's an innovative offensive mind, so he knows how to put his running backs in great situations to be successful.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and I think with are the 49ers more dangerous when McCaffrey's not on the field because you don't have to key in on McCaffrey and they're not stopping the run and putting people in the box to stop him. They got the ball to everybody
I
today.
think they're more lethal with McCaffrey not in the game than when he's not at 100% health.
Agreed.
I think that's when Christian McCaffrey was healthy and he was firing on all cylinders. He was a top 3 player in the NFL at any position. He can run, he can catch, and he can pass, right? Like Boobie Miles, right? Like CMC is a terrific running back.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's just because he was injured this year. That's the thing that really just mounted them, and that's why they haven't looked as good. Because, I mean, if McCaffrey was healthy the whole year, like people thought he was going to be, the 49ers probably would have still been one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. That you have to look at it like Brandon Ayuk also, he gets the bag, goes down. ACL's gone, right? So I know you have Juwan Jennings, you have Debo, who I don't think that they still realize that they have Debo on the roster.
Yeah, I think
but
he's forgotten for some reason right now. He's still super exciting to watch.
You have
play
Juwan
football.
Jennings, you have Ricky Pearsall, who, again, had he not been shot, like, he had a lot of upside, too. Like, San Francisco has just been mired in just the craziest circumstances this season, and I think that's got a big part.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team I think that could win the West.
I mean,
still a chance.
Yeah, there's a big chance.
The Rams had a really good day today, though.
They did. They had a fantastic.
I know we're going to get to that a little bit later. That's a pretty big win. Probably the biggest win of the day so far.
Yeah, I mean, it was the most exciting shootout of a game so far today, for sure. And I did not expect it to go the way that it did.
Yeah.
So, yes.
But I think the 49ers, they could be another team that sneaks in a playoff spot and maybe steals a game from somebody if I think they could. They just got the weapons everywhere. They went to Kittle 6 times a day for 151 yards.
He looked amazing, by the way.
He
George Kittle caught everything thrown at him just about. And, he is the most violent running tight end we may have ever seen in our lifetime that we may have ever seen. I know Gronk was good.
Yeah, I was about to say, AJ, did he just forget that Gronk is
Gronk
alive
didn't run with the same kind of angry aggression that George Kittle
does. I wouldn't want to hit either one of them if I was playing. That's not for me. I don't want to line up with any of those guys. I'd rather have Kittle run at me. I don't know. Neither one. Neither one. There'd be a Bryce outline in the field with him just running me over. To be honest,
it would be close. I don't know. Kittle, he looks like somebody that breaks center blocks with his face when he's sitting at the house and he gets bored.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath, man.
Well, he and Gronk both are. I think that's what makes him so special.
I guess that
watch,
is fair.
Right? And they're easy guys to cheer for. Kittle's got the hair. Gronk just had. He was Gronk. That's really how you describe Gronk.
That's the best. Yeah. But. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and go to a commercial break. You are listening to The Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Mean Gene.
Everybody, welcome back. This is The Mean Gene Show with me, your host today, Jacob Meadows of the Coach's Quarters, joined by the Bryce Shepherd, and we are rolling up to. We're just the show's. It's not almost over, but it's almost over. Yeah. We're almost done. We're almost halfway through the second half, and this has been a good show. I miss Gene a lot, but it is always a pleasure and an honor to be able to run his show while he is away. And thoughts and prayers to you, Mr. Gene.
Yeah, just big thanks to Gene for letting me come on here today too. Hope I could come back at some point. Hope I get an invite. Would love to sit in the middle and just talk some football with you guys any day of the week.
I think that might be a pretty easy conversation to have. He's a pretty easygoing guy. But all right, so we actually have, these are going to be some good games that we're talking about this segment, right? We have the Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. Good game, but it wasn't the game that it could have been, right? Seattle kind of blew the doors off Arizona. Arizona opened this game up beautifully. Hits Michael Wilson with a 41-yard tutter right there in the very beginning of the game. It looks like Arizona's going to be firing on all cylinders. Geno doesn't look great right off the jump. And then everything fell apart. Yeah. They didn't even get out of the first quarter.
Yeah, the turnovers start happening, and it's just so weird to me, watching the Cardinals, because I watch Kyler Murray, and you just think this guy could do anything on any given play, and then he does it. Yeah. And then the very next drive, he does something, and you just kind of sit there and think, what were we kind of thinking there?
It looked like he threw that touchdown pass. That first drive was beautiful. And then it's like he was like, yeah, we've got this game won. And then they disappeared. He threw 2 back-to-back picks after that. And it's like, you do realize, there's a whole game still in front of you. It doesn't help that their run game didn't get going very quickly. And I don't know, dude. Arizona still needs some pieces. Kyler Murray has played better. He's had a good year. They are right there. They could still win the division. It's a very competitive division, but with San Francisco taking a step back for all the reasons that we've already pointed out, Arizona still has that chance. This was not a game that helped them win this division. But, I don't know. Seattle. I think Seattle's better than I've given them credit for all year.
Yeah,
I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think they're kind of one of those sleeper teams. Yeah. Like you're not going to watch them. In the middle of the day, you're not going to be like, I need to watch the Seahawks game. But they're winning football games, and they're 8-5, really controlling their own destiny at this point. The Cardinals to me are just really confusing. Like I thought Marvin Harrison would have a little bit more of an impact.
Yeah.
Than he's had so far, but. He had 8 targets today, 4 catches. But, I just thought he'd be a little bit more involved in the game plan, I guess. And I thought he would make a little bit more of a splash, maybe more of a deep threat, a guy that can make a guy miss on a quick throw and have more explosive plays.
I think he was, right? Like, my opinion on it is that I think everybody thinks that coming in. So Marvin Harrison just gets immediately taken out. Yeah. Like, that guy is watched by every team because the only other – big target that they have is Michael Wilson, who scored the first touchdown of the game. Like they are void of talent.
He's already being treated like a number one.
Correct. Yeah. And everybody can cue on him. And if you can stop James Conner and DeMarcado, the running backs there, you can stop this Arizona offense. I mean, Kyler does give it that extra oomph, right? Because he can run and he can pass, and he's very good at both. But it takes a very creative game design for this Arizona offense to come into any stadium and really put up a consistent game-winning performance because there's not very many angles they can take. They're not one-dimensional, but they are pretty close.
Yeah, and you may know a little bit more about the Cardinals than I do. Defensively, are they?
They have holes. This isn't the Patrick Peterson Cardinals, right? Yeah. Like they have young talent. Like they're not bad. They're just not good. They allowed a lot of points last year. They did bring in some guys in the offseason and the draft, and they've gotten better. But this is another team. Like very few people outside of Arizona really thought that these weren't Super Bowl contenders. Right. They're like, Kyler's coming back. And then you have all the jokes. It's like they launched another Call of Duty this year. They're like, oh, Kyler's going to suck, which he did dispel that. He got part of it. He was some part of the Call of Duty
he was.
debut and whatnot. Yeah. But he's gotten through that.
I'm not going to hate on an NFL quarterback for having hobbies outside of football. No, if he wants to play Call of Duty till 4 a.m, if you show up and throw touchdown passes, you can do it.
He wasn't doing it. That was why he was getting hate.
I know, but still, people have hobbies.
But he's done well this season. Like this really, since Cliff Kingsbury, he's done really well this year.
Yeah.
It's just
he's been improved this year.
This is a team that should be much better next season, and I think that they've done rather well with the resources at their disposal. Their defense does need help. Seattle hung 30 on them today, and I do know that they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Yeah. Zach Charbonnet was the difference today. And with
big run today.
Kenneth Walker out, the run game should have been stoppable. And it was not. Zach Charbonnet I'm pretty sure this was the best game of his season.
Yeah, because when we're looking at it here, it was 17-10 at the time. The Cardinals just kicked a field goal to make it a 7-point game, and then he broke the 51-yard touchdown run.
And it was beautiful because he broke tackles.
He broke tackles. It wasn't like he was untouched. He ran through the middle of the field, broke tackles, and scored.
Reminiscent of the Marshawn Lynch days.
There's no run that ever compares to that, by the way. That 51-yard run that's a nap run compared to what Marshawn Lynch did. But it was a nice. It was
a good run.
It's a good run, and it's a big moment of the game. And like we said, this is the NFL. You're giving up a 51-yard touchdown run to make it a 2-score game again. That's tough to kind of swallow.
Yes, and I don't know. Arizona looked good to start. I don't think that they schemed well for Seattle.
Yeah,
I think that Seattle came in because this was the second matchup of the year, if I'm not mistaken, between Seattle and Arizona. And it's like they didn't learn anything from the first game. Like they thought that they could come in, do the same thing, and everything would be the same. And that wasn't the case. And that falls on coaching. They have a young coach, right? So I just think it's one of those things. This was a growth opportunity, and that is what it was.
The Cardinals are still young, right? And they brought, like you said, they brought in some good pieces. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr. eventually will be the breakout guy. Everything we watched at Ohio State was absolutely ridiculous.
He's the best player on that team. You just don't know it yet.
You just don't know it yet, right? It's one of those things you're going to have to find out. But on the other side, Seahawks 8-5, kind of sneaky, good, slide into the playoffs.
They won a division game without their starting running back. Kenneth Walker's a damn good player.
Yeah, so. we just get me to the dance. I just want to be a part of the dance.
And I think Seattle could make ripples in the playoffs. I really do. Like, if they end up winning, it's not a team that I want to draw. There are going to be harder places to play. Yeah. But I mean, Geno Smith's still good at quarterback, right? Geno Smith can lead an offense. That defense is playing really, really well. So, Seattle's a good team. There's a reason they have a winning record. They have the best record in their division. That division is a very competitive division, and Seattle has a good in-division record for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
what's the goal every time you go out there? Win games.
Win games.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've dropped a couple that they probably should have won, but they are winning games, and that's what this was this week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, on the flip side of that, we have the Bills and Rams, another team from the same division as the Seahawks, and this was an incredible game. This was, and if you like offensive football, this was the best game of the week by far. The Bills lost 44-42 to the LA Rams, something that I did not expect to happen coming into this game. And yeah, I'm going to give this over to you. How did you like this? Was this a good game?
This was the best game on, today. I think I'm an offensive football fan. I think sometimes there's a time and place for defensive football games. I think it's great. I like when the defenses step up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I like to watch people run around and score touchdowns too. That kind of makes the game exciting. It's kind of like baseball. Everybody likes the bunt in the ninth inning to get the guy from first to second.
It's true.
But we like the home runs too. Would you rather see a bunt or would you see the home run?
The home run for sure.
Right. Don't get me wrong. Diving plays are exciting too. Defense is great.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
For me with the Bills are good.
They're a good team.
But the Rams needed to win today to keep some pressure on Seattle.
Yes.
And I've always been a big Matthew Stafford fan. I just think, it's easy to cheer for the guy. Mm-hmm. And he showed up today, 320, 2 touchdowns, and it's a big win for the Rams. And this is what bothers me about the Bills. You want to be like the Bills are –
they're the best.
They're the best.
And then they do stuff like they go out beat
this.
Kansas City, and then they can fall by 2 points to a Rams team that's barely over 500.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, Josh Allen still did what he does every single week, and he's so exciting to watch. Congrats on his engagement, by the way. I think we've all seen it on social media, so congrats to Josh.
W.
Great job.
I said W.
Hey, good for him.
Good for him.
Hey, as someone who recently got engaged as well, it's an exciting time. So good for Josh. It's a big deal. But yeah, I think Josh Allen is just he's an easy guy to cheer for. Hard, plays the game the right way, plays the game hard. But you can't lose games like this when you're the Bills.
It's hard. Sean McVay, still one of the best coaches in the league. Yeah. And like you said, Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. And the Rams wanted it more today. Yeah. They put pressure on the Bills in all the right ways, right? James Cook had a hard time getting things going. And then you have things like, the Bills trade for Amari Cooper. Me and so many other people probably expected Amari Cooper to be an instant plug-and-play. Like, he was good in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson could hit him with passes, and he was a difference maker in games. He comes to the Bills, you're like, they lack a true number one receiver. Yeah. Amari Cooper, just bang, bang, bang. It's going to be great. Yeah. And it hasn't been the case. You have Mac Hollins dropping balls in the end zone, and you have Josh Allen, who, albeit played a pretty good game, missed a lot of throws that he probably shouldn't have, especially in the first half, and that led to the Rams being able to stay in this.
Yeah, and then you look at, we're looking right here, we're looking at rushing, right? And when your quarterback has 82 rushing yards and your running back has 20, and a receiver has 1, it's hard to win that way because then you're just keying in on the pass. I think that's what happens with the Bills sometimes. But another thing about this game, there was like that dull part of the year for the Rams where Cooper Kupp was hurt, Nakua was hurt, and everyone was like, the Rams can be tough. They're just not that good. These guys are back.
They're
now,
getting healthy.
And you see what the offense can be when those guys are back, and they're exciting to watch too. Shifty guys. They're not the biggest guys, but they just get open. And you can tell Matthew Stafford gets really comfortable when those two guys are in the game.
Absolutely. And then when you had, Matthew Stafford has always elevated the play of the receivers that play for him. Yeah. And one of my favorite plays of this game today, there was a deep bomb to Demarcus Robinson, who, shout out to him for not being in jail. But Demarcus Robinson had a good game. He catches a ball. He has a pass interference called against him, right? Pass interference, not against him, but a pass interference called against the defender behind him. Demarcus Robinson catches an absolute dime from Matthew Stafford right in front of the end zone, and there was no reason he even should have caught it. And it was beautiful. And it was just indicative of the entire game for the Rams. They are able to make anything out of nothing, or very little at least. And I like DeMarcus Robinson, who's good for the Chiefs. He's been great in his entire NFL career. Yeah. But, I mean, they look good. The Rams just look good at all three phases the entire game, and that, I do believe, is what ended up winning them this game 44-42.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we said, I think the Rams are healthy now. I would probably say the Rams win the division over the Seahawks.
I think it's definitely possible, and I think if they're able to make a wild card somehow, they're going to be a team very similar to the Packers, right? Where
you just don't want to see them.
Yeah, you don't want to play them because they are very good. They're very good at everything they do, and Sean McVay is a top 5 head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So, all right, with that being said, we're going to shut this one down. We are going to go to a commercial break. You are listening to the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Mean Gene.
Welcome back, everybody. What is up? If you have not tuned in prior to now, I am not Mean Gene. I look similar, but I am not the same person. I am Jacob Meadows with the Coach's Quarters, joined today by Bryce Shepherd, my in-house specialist of all things NFL. You having fun today, dude?
Oh, I'm having a blast. I just keep waiting for more backhanded compliments whenever you start the segment. So, but there's been a few. There haven't been as many as I thought, though.
I got to be a little nice. I do want you to end up wanting to come back. But I'll tell you, AJ's smiling so much behind the glass today. It's been a good day.
Good
for sure.
Well, I definitely want to come back. You guys have made the sale. You can just stop selling. All right, you've made the sale, and I want to come back. You can stop selling, though. All right, stop selling.
This is going to be we are semi-winded down, right? There's only 2 more segments left of this show. There's been a game going on for the past 25-ish minutes.
Yeah.
It is the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Unfortunately for us, we had it on the wrong channel initially, so we couldn't comment on what was going on.
You were
in the
just
game.
trying to catch up on the Simpsons.
Yeah, I was trying to catch up on the Simpsons. Apparently, that's what was planned for us. We have finally moved it over. The Chiefs are beating the Chargers right now, 6-0. It does look like Herbie and the Chargers offense are having a big issue against this, what looks like incredibly elite Chiefs defense right now. Herbert is actually, he's hurt right at the moment.
Yeah.
So we will most certainly see what comes of that. It does look like there was a flag on the play. I don't know if that was an unnecessary roughness on the defense or what yet. But it does look like Taylor Heineke, somebody who's played good ball in his past. He's a vet.
Not a bad guy to have coming in. He has experience. But this Chiefs defense, dude, I don't know.
It's nuts.
The 1 year where they had an average defense, we're talking about maybe where we don't have the Chiefs in the playoffs, and I think, for 90% of us, I think that'd be a win. Sorry to all the Chiefs fans out there that are listening, but you've had it pretty good for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, defense is solid. Spagnuolo does a great job.
Spags is a good DC.
It's hard to, like you said, sometimes we all know defense wins championships. I told you I like to watch people score. That's just the fun part of football.
Mm-hmm.
But watching good defenses like theirs is pretty fun too.
I just, it's crazy how the stars have aligned for the Chiefs. And if you've listened to the show any of the weeks prior to this one, you've heard Gene and I kind of boil the Chiefs down where, Patrick Mahomes is having his worst statistical year of his NFL career. They have no wide receivers, traded for DeAndre Hopkins at the break. Hollywood Brown's not back yet. And they're getting very little offensive output out of their receiving core. Isaiah Pacheco breaks his fibula, right? Not something most people come back from in season. He is back. Did
you have any doubt he'd be back, though? That guy runs so crazy, so crazy hard. I mean, he'd be back.
He runs hard like Jamal Williams ran at the beginning of his NFL career, and I love it. It's hard to cheer against Isaiah Pacheco for it, especially with his story and what have you. He's a good dude. And
Rutgers, right? Rutgers? Mm-hmm. Is that a Rutgers?
I think
right?
so.
I think, yeah.
But I don't want them to three-peat. Call me a hater, right? I'm going to hate a little bit on the Chiefs. They are in the AFC. My whole career, I've spent my life cheering for the Texans, and we stood in Tom Brady's shadow. And it's like, you know what? Tom Brady's gone, goes to Tampa Bay. It's finally our chance.
Share the love of the Super Bowl. There's a lot of fan bases out there, and we have AJ here, who is a Cowboys fan, and he hasn't even seen them win, more than 2 playoff games, I think. And, Chiefs are out here going for a three-peat.
Yeah.
And we got AJ behind the glass just wishing and hoping to win a playoff game. And maybe even get to the playoffs this year with the Cowboys. But
I want them to get Ash and Jency. They don't need to make playoffs this year.
You get so much of this from me and Gene. I'm so sorry.
I get it from a lot of people. I'm just used to it.
But in all reality, it's crazy, but the Chiefs look like a team that could do exactly what they've done 2 years prior and win a Super Bowl. Because, really all it takes is for it to click on offense.
That's correct. They just play good ball. Like, no matter what you do, you can plug and play anybody you want onto offense, defense, special teams. It doesn't matter. They just play good ball. And
they're a team that doesn't know how to lose.
Andy Reid is a spectacular first-ballot Hall of Fame coach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he has made this team gel in a way that it doesn't matter if you have chemistry with the team. Anybody who comes into that office, into that building, they buy into what they're doing because it works.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like you said, they don't know how to lose.
They actually don't know how to lose.
You come in off the streets, any other team, right? Yeah. You know how to lose. It doesn't matter where you play. You know what losing is like. And you walk into this Chiefs organization, it's like, oh, like you guys, it might as well be a cult. You guys do this works. Yeah. And so it works. They immediately buy in.
I think it's easy to not know how to lose when you do know, no matter what time of the game it is, Patrick Mahomes can do something at any moment. He deserves that credit.
He can do that. Yes.
I thought Xavier Worthy. You and I talked about this before the season. Yep. I thought he would be almost the next Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. And we just haven't seen that. I think we've seen him do some things like it was his Monday night game a few weeks back. It was wide open. He didn't know where he was on the field. He caught the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
He's a rookie.
It's a development thing. Yeah, he's still young. I bet next year he is the next Tyreek Hill because they're the Chiefs.
Yeah, and he could outrun anyone on the field, the fastest 40 time
ever.
Plus,
you have Hollywood Brown coming back, another small, fast guy just like Xavier.
Yeah, and then you have the veteran DeAndre Hopkins there to help these guys with whatever they're going through.
And he's been playing good ball for them. He was invisible on the Titans because of the mayonnaise menace, Will Levis. And he looks like he's dialed the clock back a little bit with the Chiefs, which honestly I hate, but I also love since he was with Houston. He was so good for us. You love to see D-Hop do well. He deserves a ring.
Like I said, not a Texans fan, but he's an easy guy to cheer for.
Yeah. But speaking of easy guys to cheer for, we do have one more game to talk about tonight, right? This one's still going. We'll hit on it next segment. But how about the Monday Night Football game? This is one you've been chirping at AJ for all night. You have the Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a good game. My fantasy league that I am in with Gene is banking on the Bengals being a better team and that, Joe Burr is out there just throwing tutties all night because I need it. But this is a battle of two teams that most certainly are not going to go deep in the playoffs, and that's no shade at you, AJ. Dallas is having a bad year. The Cincinnati Bengals have had one of the greatest stretches of quarterback play ever, and they still find a way to lose every game. So in terms of pure implication, right, it's a lose-lose for whoever wins because whoever wins is just costing themselves that tick on the draft counter.
Yeah.
So,
I've had my thoughts on this one tonight, and AJ knows them. But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit because he's been so nice to me. Letting me come in on the show.
He's a nice guy.
Taking care of me. Kind of told me everything that to expect and what to do. I'm gonna pick Dallas tomorrow.
Really?
I think there's a chance they get it done at home. And I think it's also because, like you said, it's a lose-lose if you win. So Dallas will win this one, and they'll.
They've done that before.
Yeah, they have.
Or win for no reason.
And I know you want, G&T, and I think he would be great in the league, tough runner. I don't think he'll be available when the Cowboys pick, but I'm going with Dallas tomorrow. I just feel like Cincinnati's a team that's found a way to lose. You're
not wrong.
And it sucks for Joe Burrow because he's having probably would be MVP
caliber
conversation if the team wasn't. What are they 4-8?
Yeah,
4-8 right now. But I'm going with Dallas. I'm going with Dallas for you, AJ. I'm gonna pick it right here. on the show, and I'm not going to change it. I promise.
That's cool. I mean, either way, I'd rather them lose, but even they could still get Genty theoretically because, I mean, if they miss the playoffs, I mean, he's a generational running back, too, because you saw, like, with John Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs get picked early, too, so like, there's that factor, too. But if they really want a running back that bad, they can trade up for him, too. So, I mean, that's my thing with that. But,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to win in ways because, obviously, I get tired of people, all the memes, talking trash and stuff and all that. Like, I mean, I just learned to ignore them because after the Green Bay game last year, like, I went off on some people. I was just like, it's time to...
What game are you talking about?
Huh? I'm just saying in general, like...
What Green Bay game?
Oh, my gosh. Anyways, but, yeah. You just became a fan of them like a year and a ago, ago, like you said. So, anyways,
shout out to the fiance at home.
Exactly.
I did.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, for the Cowboys, I mean, I want them to win in that way, but I want them to lose because I want them to get better draft positioning. So, I mean, it is what it is. I just hope it's a good game, though. Honestly,
I want it to be competitive.
Yeah.
I like Cooper Rush. I really do. Like, I mean, he's no Dak Prescott, and that's saying a lot because Dak did not look good this year before he got hurt. But I mean, Cooper Rush is a serviceable backup. And he could give that Cincinnati defense fits, I think, a lot better than a lot of people are going to give him credit for.
Right. He did a couple of years ago, actually, because I think the Dallas played them like in week 3 or something like that. That's when Dak had that hand injury, and the Cowboys defense dominated that game, and they won. So
he was part of the reason I thought the Trey Lance acquisition was a bit suspect.
Right.
Because, I mean, Cooper Rush is a good backup quarterback. He's not a star, right? Like, he is not that all-generation starting quarterback, but also it's hard to find those. It's not like you can just go to your local Sam's Club and be like, that guy, right? Like, that's not how it works.
Maybe this is a question for AJ. Is Trey Lance just not that good? I mean, why would he not get a shot? I mean, because you know that the team, they're looking at him, they're watching him practice. At some point, you would think, hey, we brought this young guy in, let's give him a chance to go out there and rip it a little bit. And is he just not proving it?
You would especially think that because Jerry traded a 4th-round pick for him last year. But I don't know what it is because in interviews, Jerry Jones, I mean, he's been asked about that, and he just essentially said that we think Cooper Rush gives us the best chance to win. So they're still trying to win. So that makes it seem like as if they don't think putting him in it would lead to success, essentially. But, I mean, I don't know if y'all saw that preseason game, though. He threw 5 interceptions, so I guess that's kind of why.
If the Cowboys win tomorrow, are you going to think there's a playoff chance?
I mean, there could be. I know they play against the Eagles and the Commanders again, but I mean, they beat the Commanders once. No one saw that coming, really.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I mean, if they went 9-8, 10-7, maybe it depends because the NFC has been super competitive, and like those other teams I talked about as potential wild cards, like the Rams,
I think the
Cardinals.
problem is that the NFC North is going to keep some
other
teams out. You're going to get
Having
three teams in from the North alone.
Yeah,
because I mean, the Packers are going to win more than 10. The Vikings won 10 today, right? I think they got to 10.
I think they're 11.
Or 11 wins today.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and then you got the Lions at 12-1.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to have to shut this one down. We are going to go to a commercial break. You are listening to the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
You're listening to the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
For the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Mean Gene.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the final leg of this week's Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston. I am your host, Jacob Meadows. I'm glad to have you all back. This is my co-host today, Mr. Bryce Shepherd, and a big thank you to the man behind the glass, Mr. AJ, for keeping the flow of this, keeping us in line today. We have a special 4th segment today, mostly courtesy of yours truly, but we have already hit all of the NFL games. The Kansas City Chiefs did just score another touchdown. It is 13-0. So we will hit on that as that game is rolling. But this 4th segment is going to be dedicated to the college football playoff today because it is a big happening. It is happening now, and it does have future implications on the NFL, seeing as how this is the farming system for the professional league. So, Mr. Shepherd, I do know that you have very strong opinions about the college football playoff this year because Alabama is deservedly not in it. So you can go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, and I know AJ wanted to have this conversation. This is why we plugged this into the segment. A lot of fun, by the way. Thank you both talking all the NFL stuff today. It was absolutely phenomenal. Again, if I get an invite back, I'll definitely be here. Here are my thoughts on the college football playoff. Alabama went on the road and got beat by 3 touchdowns to Oklahoma.
To a bad team. Yeah.
A very, very bad team that was hurt. They went on the road and got beat by Vanderbilt. They went on the road and got beat by Tennessee. Been a Bama fan for a long time. I can't remember the last time I got to say we got beat 3 times. I think it happened once outside of Saban's first year there. Do I think they should have been in? Yes, but that's my bias showing. I think it's tough to put the ACC runner-up in when Alabama beat South Carolina and South Carolina beat Clemson. I think head-to-head matters. I think look at top 25 wins. Bama had a case. But as we've talked about on all the breaks, got to handle your business when it matters the most, and they went on the road twice to 2 teams that are really inferior to them talent-wise and really got dominated by Vanderbilt and got really dominated by Oklahoma. And those are things you never think you would say, talking about Alabama. But, AJ, I know you got some thoughts on this as well. I would have put the Tide in, because now I don't really care to watch the college football playoff. Just kidding. I'll watch every game. But, yeah, your thoughts. I think SMU did deserve it. The second half last night was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fashion that they lost. Honestly, though, because SMU, they were down 24-7 at halftime, I think. If they would have got blown out, though, then I could see potentially.
Yeah, I think the conversation this morning lasts about 5 minutes. Hey, you got blown out last night by a team that 2 SEC teams have beat.
Right.
How can we put you in? But they came back and made it a really good game. I can't believe they lost the game the way they did.
To that long field goal at the very end.
They gave up a 45-yard kick return and then one pass for 15, and then they drilled a 56-yard field goal to win it. Yep. Shout out to Dabo Sweeney. I guess he hasn't been to the transfer portal ever in his life, and somehow he's back in the playoff. But good for Clemson. Yeah. But AJ, I know you had some thoughts on Bama, and I think you and I have been talking about it all night.
Yeah, it was just the fashion that they lost in, honestly, because like Jacob brought up, they played their third stringers in the Oklahoma game, so that's a bad thing there. Maybe if you only lost by a field goal or something like that, potentially. Then the Vanderbilt one earlier in the year.
That one hurt. That was right after the Georgia game,
right?
Too, exactly. So I think there was a really emotional high for everyone.
I think Saban had a big hand in that. Saban, right before that game, Saban went on, he's like, the only place that you don't care if it's an away game, you go to Vandy. Yeah. They can't beat you at home. And then Vandy took it personally and ended up dunking the field goal post.
The goat was talking a little too much before that game. But I think the interesting thing is, strength of schedule was talked about a lot today, and I think Alabama did beat Georgia.
Yes.
They did beat South Carolina, who everyone's talking about South Carolina. I think South Carolina should have been considered a little bit for the playoff. I thought down the stretch they were pretty
because they beat Clemson.
Yeah, they beat Clemson. They beat the ACC champ. But you had South Carolina sitting there who beat the ACC champ. You had Bama sitting there who beat the SEC champ. And they're both out. And I think it'll be interesting. I think the playoffs going to be interesting. It's exciting to see some of the teams in there, though. Like, who would have thought Indiana would have a chance to go win a national?
Right. Yeah. Them. Boise State. Yeah.
Boise State
has a bye. Arizona State was picked
Arizona
to finish last in the Big 12, and they get a bye.
Beat the mess out of Iowa State to finish the season.
The Skater kid is nice.
Yeah,
I do wish that Army would have made it. I've loved watching SMU.
I want you to make a case to AJ and I why Army should have been in the playoff.
You got it. So I've watched SMU all season, right? This has been an incredible run for SMU. This is great. However, SMU lost their conference championship. Army won theirs, right? If you're not,
and Army took care of Tulane.
They did, and when you look at it, if you're not going to go off of strength of schedule, right, which deservedly would have had Alabama in the college playoff over SMU with this recent loss for SMU, Army has a bigger pool to be put in. They had one loss on the season, and they were incredible all year. Won their conference championship, and going off of what the playoff committee seemingly went off, Army deserved that final spot.
Did you watch the Notre Dame game?
Yeah, it was rough. They played
49-14. Tough.
They played one big game.
That's worse than getting beat 24-3 by Oklahoma.
But then how does Indiana come in? Because Indiana had the same year, and that's my whole argument.
I almost thought this morning. I was actually really thinking about it. I thought you could have had a debate between Alabama, Miami, SMU, and Indiana thrown in there because you're supposed to re-rank the teams every week.
Yeah.
Indiana's resume, Indiana just beat the brakes off of everybody that they played except Ohio State.
State.
You know, so when I think Booger or somebody said it this morning. When you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, you get in.
Yeah,
and that's what they did. They took care of business, and unfortunately, the Crimson Tide did not. And the ReliaQuest Bowl on New Year's Eve, I'll be sitting in front of the TV saying, "High Tide."
I'll be
I like the commercial.
You like that? You like that? Yeah.
I'll be thinking. Luckily for me, right? The Oregon Ducks are doing great. They did.
He bought this shirt a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw him wear it before. He did wear it before. I ain't gonna lie.
He's been a Duck fan for as long as I've known him, so I'll give him some credit here. I know he's feeling good.
This is a great year. We're undefeated. Penn State scared me a lot. I definitely thought they were going to handle Penn State a little easier than they did. Penn State made a great push there in the second half. I like Oregon's chances this year. I'm scared if there's a rematch with Ohio State, legitimately, because you never want to play the rematch.
They have the toughest road, too. When you look at as the 1 seed, they're going to draw Ohio State or Tennessee. And
I want Tennessee. They don't have as explosive of an offense, and they're not as pissed off as Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State's interesting to me. That Michigan game, I feel like you just can't let that happen. That Michigan game almost felt, it was close, but 1 point loss, right? That's what they lost by 1 point.
Field goal.
Yeah, or by a field goal. That felt like the Oklahoma-Alabama game.
It did.
Though. Like when you were watching it, like that, you could tell who the better team was looking on the field, and then the other team just dominated them. Like there was no reason for Ohio State to even have that game close.
No.
And they didn't really drop much for that,
It's one of the best rivalry games in football.
Oh, it's amazing. I put the game top, it's number one, and then you've got the Iron Bowl as number two because crazy things happen in the Iron Bowl. But it's exciting to see some teams that you never thought would have a chance to win a national championship.
This is going to be one of the more exciting college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Like you're finally getting to see some of the little schools. I do believe that every conference championship should have a seed, the playoff, and then what's left over should be fought upon by the teams like Alabama. But
hey, have an NIT tournament for football.
I'm all about it. I'd watch it. I'd pay for a pay-per-view.
Yeah, take the teams that are 13 to 25, put them in a bracket. And let them battle for a consolation prize.
Go to town, Let us see a little more Cam Ward. That'd be great. Jalen Milroe can come back.
That's the tough thing about Miami. By the way, Cam Ward. I went to the University of Incarnate Word in San Antonio. That's where Cam Ward started his career. So big shout out to the Cardinals in San Antonio in the quarterfinals this week of the FCS playoffs. Big week for the Cards. Got a big win over Villanova Saturday. So rooting for them too. But I thought Miami should have had a chance because Cam Ward's fun to watch.
He's fun to watch, and I think he's going to be, at the end of the day, I do believe he might end up being the best quarterback to come out of this draft. If Miami had any amount of defense all year, like if their defense could actually stop any team that they played at any given point, I think Miami would have easily gotten a spot.
Yeah, I think the hard thing with Miami, AJ, I want your thoughts. I think it was the Virginia Tech game. When they overturned the call, I think in the committee's eyes, they kind of thought that was a loss. And then the Cal game where they didn't call the targeting.
Right.
I think those are two games where they should have had four losses. And when you look at resumes and stuff, their resume wasn't that strong.
Stack up.
And then Georgia Tech kind of dominated them in that game, and then they blew a 21-point lead.
Yep. They didn't deserve to be in the playoff at any.
Yeah. But Cam Ward's exciting.
Cam Ward's going to be an incredible NFL player.
Yeah. AJ, who you got? Who's winning it all?
Winning the whole thing? I don't know. I feel like I could see the outcome being Georgia and Oregon. Out of that, though, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know. It's tough.
Had some family graduate from the University of Georgia.
I can't wait for them to lose so I can text Jeremy.
Shout out to Jeremy.
Shout out Jeremy.
I just want to give him a reminder. I reminded him this last night. Kirby Smart's 1-6 against Alabama.
They also lost Ole Miss.
Absolutely.
Georgia. I don't want Georgia to do it. They're good though.
But here's my thing, and Jeremy knows I feel this way. In a playoff format, Georgia's the best football team.
I think the same.
Getting to prepare week in, week out, and Kirby Smart's team's playing for a championship.
Right.
Kirby Smart has the Nick Saban aura a little bit right now, where you don't want to play Georgia. You know?
I just don't trust Carson Beck. That's the thing.
And I thought last night was interesting. I thought Georgia played better with the backup.
With Stockton,
I thought he could run a little bit, make some things happen with his feet.
More dynamic.
But 12 teams is pretty exciting. Way better than 4, in my
sure.
opinion.
And it's more football, too, though.
Yeah, we get to watch football on the 20th all the way through the new year.
Right, and the playoffs will be going on in the NFL.
Absolutely. It's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Harder on the players, technically, much better for the fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Expanded playoff is going to be fantastic.
Who do you got if it's not Oregon?
I want Oregon to win it. If it's not Oregon, I want one of the teams that shouldn't be there. I want Indiana to figure it out. I want Arizona State to figure it out. In terms of whom I actually think it will be, if it's not Oregon, it's Ohio State. I think Ryan Day wins it all if they're able to get past Oregon. But yeah,
what about Texas?
Texas sucks. I cheered for UT. They were my favorite Texas team.
I had a UT pullover on last night.
Texas sucks. So. Dr. Quinn is not good. They deserve to lose to Georgia, and I don't think that they're going to figure this out at any point this season.
Oh, interesting. So you're pulling for Indiana.
Oh yeah, why not? It's Indiana.
All right.
With that, we're going to end this.
You heard it here first, folks. Jacob's picking Indiana to win the college football playoff.
Thank you all for tuning into the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
How did Ella bake her way to the top? It all started with one smart decision. She test drove a certified used truck from her local Ford dealer. It was inspected, backed by a Ford warranty, and fit her budget. A Carfax report was the cherry on top. Soon, a pinch of confidence became a truckload of ambition. Cupcakes became customers. Customers became regulars. Hola. Turns out, Ella's next great investment was herself. Ford Blue Advantage. Used car buying that's built for you. See dealer for full program and limited warranty details.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment. The BX Series is the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 84 months or save up to $2,300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Steven is an owner-operator truck driver.
Hiya, folks.
Steven traded up to Geico for serious commercial insurance for both his truck and cargo, all for a seriously great rate.
Ooh, I got one.
Got one what?
A good pun.
This isn't one of those ads.
There's something wrong with that forklift, but it's a giant fork you can't lift, right?
We take commercial insurance very seriously here, Steven.
I'm only semi-serious, huh? You get it?
I see what you did there. Get more with Geico Commercial Insurance. Trade up today at geico.com/commercial.